A gift with no name. On a cold morning, Lena found a small box on her doorstep. No ribbon, no card, no name. Inside was a warm scarf, soft, hand-knitted, the kind made with patience. Lena wrapped it around her neck and smiled, even though she had no idea who sent it. That day, the scarf kept her warm not just from the cold, but from worry too. Someone had noticed. Someone had cared. A week later, Lena saw her elderly neighbor shivering while waiting for the bus. Without thinking, she took off the scarf and gently placed it around the woman's shoulders. "Who gave this to you?" the woman asked. Lena paused, then smiled. "I don't know. It was a gift with no name." The woman nodded, eyes shining. "Then it must be meant to keep traveling." And so it did. The scarf passed from person to person, quietly, kindly, never carrying a name, only warmth. No one ever knew who started it. But everyone who received it felt the same thing. Some gifts don't need a name. Their kindness is enough. The scarf did not stop its journey with the old woman. Her name was Miriam, and she wore the scarf every morning after that. It reminded her of hands she once held and kindness she once believed the world had forgotten. On one rainy afternoon, she noticed a young boy standing outside a bakery window, his nose red, his eyes fixed on the bread inside. He wasn't begging. He was just waiting. Miriam stepped closer and wrapped the scarf around his small shoulders. "It's not mine," she told him gently. "It was given to me the same way I'm giving it to you." The boy looked confused. "By who?" Miriam smiled the same smile Lena once had. "By someone kind." That night, the boy, Adam, went home warmer than he had been in weeks. His mother noticed the scarf immediately. She didn't ask questions. She simply touched the wool and whispered, "Someone cares." Days passed. Adam wore the scarf to school until one afternoon he saw his teacher quietly crying at her desk after class. Her husband had lost his job. Hope felt thin that day. Adam walked up, placed the scarf on her chair, and said the only words he knew how to say. "It helped me. Maybe it will help you too." The teacher held the scarf and cried harder, but this time, it was different. This time, there was relief mixed in with the tears. And so the gift kept moving. It warmed a taxi driver during a long night shift. It comforted a nurse after losing a patient. It rested on the shoulders of a stranger sitting alone on a park bench. No one ever signed their name. No one ever waited for thanks. The scarf grew older. The threads loosened. But somehow, the kindness grew stronger. People began to notice something strange, not the scarf itself, but what followed it. Wherever it went, people began passing on small acts of goodness, a meal shared, a door held open, a hand offered in silence. And somewhere, long ago, the person who had knitted the scarf sat quietly by a window, watching the world with tired eyes and a peaceful heart. They never wondered where the scarf went. They already knew. Because true kindness doesn't ask to be remembered. A gift with no name doesn't disappear. It becomes many. By the time winter loosened its grip on the town, the scarf had become something more than wool and thread. No one could say where it was at any moment, but everyone could feel its presence. It began with small changes. The bakery started leaving a basket of bread outside every evening, labeled simply, "Take what you need." The bus driver waited an extra minute for late passengers. Strangers smiled more, listened more. No announcements were made. No stories were written in the newspaper. Yet somehow, people understood that something gentle was moving among them. One evening, the scarf appeared at the town shelter. A volunteer found it folded neatly beside the door, still warm, as if it had just been taken off. She wrapped it around a young mother who had arrived with nothing but her child and a single bag. "This doesn't belong to me," the volunteer said softly. The mother nodded. "Then I'll take care of it until someone else needs it more." And she did. Weeks later, that same mother stood in line at the community center, not to receive help, but to give it. She brought soup she had learned to cook in the shelter kitchen. She stayed late to clean. She laughed again. The scarf rested on a chair nearby, watching silently. Spring came. The scarf was lighter now, worn thin in places. Someone stitched it carefully one night, using mismatched thread. They didn't know who had made it, but they wanted it to last. Another person later added a small patch. Then another. It was no longer one person's work. It was everyone's. Children began to talk about the warm scarf, as if it were a story, not an object. Some said it showed up when people felt invisible. Others believed it only appeared when someone was ready to give without being asked. No one argued. Years passed. On a calm afternoon, the scarf was placed on a bench in the town square. The sun was bright. Winter was far away. A little girl picked it up and asked her grandmother, "Why is this here if it's not cold?" Her grandmother wrapped the scarf around the girl's shoulders and said, "Because warmth isn't always about the weather." That evening, the scarf was folded and left behind again, clean, mended, waiting. Waiting for the next pair of hands. The next quiet need. The next unnamed act of love. And so the town learned something important, without ever writing it down. Kindness does not need a signature. Gifts do not need names. What is given freely finds its way exactly where it belongs.